Warning, this manga contains graphic material intended for a mature audience. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello everybody, welcome to my place on the internet, where I am your host, Peter, aka the MuttonChopGuy, where I jump into the sprawling world of manga to talk about a niche genre within it, known as Gei Komi, or Bara, whichever you prefer. Yes, this is going to be a very interesting video because I'm going to be covering the godfather of Bara manga again, but I had to be very scrupulous on which particular work he has made because of how intense his works can be. I don't really know what other word I can put in here without, bringing down the censors of the YouTube algorithm on me, but it is something that I know a lot of people want me to do, is talk about Gengoroh Tagame and a lot of his works. But it's really hard to do that on a platform like this one because you will learn why very quickly. So I will certainly say that this particular work that we're going to be talking about is extreme in terms of its depictions of things. It's extreme in terms of the themes that it wants to cover. So I will certainly say here and now, if you are the faint of heart, you might not want to read this. But if you want to hear my thoughts on it, please go ahead and skip to this timestamp if you want to avoid some of the nitty-gritty details, because these details do get rather gritty. But, that's what I'm gonna put it.
Okay.
And what is it that I want to cover out of all the works of Tagame that I feel is tame enough for YouTube, but still exemplifies a lot of the themes and a lot of the tropes and concepts that Gengoroh Tagame is most known for? I felt like this one encapsulates it without going too far overboard. And the name of this title is Kodama. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and just jump right into it.
Alrighty then.
Our story begins when our protagonist wakes up from his slumber. He sees a ruggedly good-looking man standing over him, who explains that they are at his cabin where he brought him after he fell down a cliff, and took his muddy clothes to wash them. When asked who he was, our protagonist is unable to remember anything. The cabin owner explains that they're deep in the mountains with no other houses or trails for miles, making it a perfect place for someone to escape from civilization. Seeing that the lost man made it out this far, the cabin owner asks if that is his story, only to see that the lost man is incapable of answering. So the cabin owner says he'll check on his clothes for an ID, and while he's gone, the lost man sees a radio in the chair. He grabs it to turn it on, listens to it while scanning for a stable signal, and through the static hears about a murder case with the suspect still on the loose. The cabin owner returns to ask what the radio said, which the lost man replies by saying he was trying to see if the radio can help him remember anything. The cabin owner didn't find anything in his clothes either, leaving them back at square one. The cabin owner then tells the lost man that he can stay until his memory returns, and then confesses how he has been feeling lonely before he tells a story about his pet dog that passed away. After his passing, the cabin owner left to live in recluse from other humans, and the lost man is the first person he's seen since then. The lost man asks who would do something like that, to which the cabin owner suggests someone like a murderer?
Oh no!
The cabin owner asks if he knows anything else about the news report, and the lost man replies by saying he doesn't know anything, and is promptly assured not to worry about it, leaving the cabin owner to go on about how the lost man can repay his kindness. With his body, he rips the covers off of him and pins him down. The lost man knees the cabin owner in the groin, which he pulls a cleaver knife out and strikes at the headboard. The lost man flees to the balcony and is struck the back of the head with the blunt end of the cleaver. The cabin owner works quickly to restrain him onto the railing, subduing him and using a blade to cut the lost man's undergarments off. He takes his time, committing acts way too graphic for me to describe on YouTube, and when it's over, he unties him, saying that his debt is paid, so he can leave. What happens next is unexpected to say the least. So the lost man kneels down in front of the cabin owner and asks if he can stay, even after the horrible acts inflicted upon him. His reasoning is that he felt that he finally found who he was looking for, and he doesn't fully understand it himself. So the cabin owner agrees to let him stay, if the lost man becomes his loyal pet. He agrees by putting the dog collar on, and is put through a series of acts to humiliate him. When he fails to follow commands, he's punished and humiliated even more. Later that night, after doing what the cabin owner commanded of him, he's rewarded by being able to sleep in the bed with the cabin owner. He then asks him if he really wants to stay with him after being treated the way he's been treated. The Lost Man replies that he will never leave, even if he gets his memory back, which the cabin owner tells him that he's a fool for staying with him. The Lost Man begs to stay, even asking to be adopted by the cabin owner, which he agrees, and prompting a flashback to reveal that the Lost Man was actually a police officer in pursuit of the cabin owner for the charge of murdering a person who killed his dog and the puppies. He explains how he understands why the fugitive did it, but he needs to turn himself in to the police. In an attempt to reason with the fugitive, the ground gave way and the cop fell, landing on his head, leaving him unconscious. The last thing we see is the fugitive carrying the cop to the cabin and watching the cop wake up, as we saw in the very beginning, only to continue being used as a pet by the cabin owner.
Oh, wow. That's really disturbing.
This is something I find difficult to discuss about because, well, there's a lot of layers to peel back here. So I think I need to get this out of the way as soon as possible so we can have an actual discussion on the merits of the manga. No, I do not condone the actions that the cabin owner committed. I do not condone his treatment to the Lost Man, and I do not condone anyone who does do this to anyone ever. Don't ever do this, never treat anyone like this, and don't ever think that this is okay to do to anyone ever. With that out of the way, let's actually discuss the merits.
You know I have to do this. I know.
If you haven't learned who Gengoroh Tagame is, go watch my Bara history video, as I worked hard on that video and still happy how it turned out. This is what he's most known for within this genre, and helped foster the genre as a whole with his works. The reason why I chose this one over many of his other works is that this one exemplifies many of his common themes and tropes that he likes to use in his works. Many of his hallmarks are displayed here with things like the power dynamic between two characters, being the criminal and cop, but he also has done prisoner warden, master servant, teacher student. The point being, someone who is in control of the situation and takes advantage of someone who is at the disadvantage. Bondage elements with some shibari rope art ties, leather boots along with licking them, which is a classic for him. Humiliation being a common through line with this manga as well as his many other works. While there are others that I can't speak on this channel due to terms of service, these are common tropes that you will see in Tagame's work. While I know many people will not be interested in the non-con elements of this story, how Tagame handles the themes and plot lines within his works demonstrates thought and care, as opposed to pure indulgence. Something that I always remark with his works is how he explores with a layer of logic for the situation he uses, and creates a layer of plausibility that lends to the feel of realism to his writing, yet never makes you forget that this is all fantasy. I think it's clear that Tagame wants to give his stories more weight with how he builds the tension between his characters, fueling the power dynamic between them so it has a bit more grounding than what I have seen in Yaoi manga. What I think helps to remind us that this is all fantasy is how he has the characters make decisions that no one in reality would actually make, or at least the absurdity is so astronomically high that you cannot possibly believe it would happen. However, given the context of his stories, he works to make sure that he handles his tastes in his indulgences also makes sense within them. His utilization of dark themes like we saw with the twist at the end of this story adds to it by amplifying the severity of the actions taken by the cabin owner. When it comes to the pillowing scene, this is where Tagame is praised for with how he illustrates them, using many different techniques that elevate the quality of the manga. His choice of angles with each frame lends to the artistic expression for the love of his taste in kink, which I say take those as you will, as you may not like it. His pacing with these scenes are interesting as well, because they all feel equal in terms of speed and time. Nothing here feels rushed or drawn out too long, which is one of the things I really like about Tagame's writing. I only have a couple of questions though. If hitting his head caused the amnesia, wouldn't hitting his head again cause the cure? And would you think the story of the dog been able to help the cop regain his memory if he understood why the cabin owner did what he did? I don't know. I just thought about that and I noticed it was never addressed. Let me know what you think. Am I looking too deep into this?
Yes, definitely.
Tagame's art style needs no introduction to anyone familiar with Bara as a genre. The level of detail he achieves here with the body hair is nothing short of masterful. How he illustrates the anatomy of his characters exemplifies the Kachiri body types that he's most known for, except Mike and My Brother's Husband, but that's a different story that I already covered. Yet everything you see here screams of the late 90s style that draws from many Western artists like Tom of Finland. The way he poses his characters is almost poetic with how it all comes together on the page. I felt like he was able to guide me through his illustrations with how the focal points draw you in and send you to the next point in one fluid motion. I know that sounds odd to remark, but it's something that I noticed as I was reading it again, so I thought it was worth noting. There's not much more I can really say that you can see on screen how well Tagame's skills shine with his works. Just know that this is one of the most prolific artists within this genre for how he brought many of the trends you see in this time period. After all, he is called the godfather of Bara, and for good reason.
No, I can see them.
Yeah, I can definitely see them.
And that is pretty much it for this video. Yes, there's no real overall conclusion and final thoughts about this particular manga because there's not much more I can really think about when it comes to this. It is an exemplification of Tagame's work that is probably some of the tamest ones that I can find. I do know somebody might even recommend me The Melon Thief, which I did consider, but I felt like it was just, there wasn't enough going on there to really help exemplify and showcase more of Tagame's common themes and plot lines and things that he's very known for within his work. So I certainly hope you enjoy what I said in this video, and I certainly hope you guys enjoy what I had to say. I know it's one of those weird type things when it comes to one-shots and how I cover them. It's something that I'm trying to improve on because since they're short, I want to make sure that I really delve into the details of one-shots since that's pretty much the only material that we have within that work. So that's just it.
Right, I gotcha.
If you have any recommendations for me, please do not hesitate to let me know down in the comment section below. It does help me out in the algorithm as well as to see what the audience wants to have reviewed. I do take those and put them in the list. Do not hesitate to drop any recommendations. I do appreciate the last person who just gave a whole recommendation dump. I really enjoyed that. Thank you so much. More people should do that. I like that. But yes, if you have any recommendations that have the Bara tag, the Gei Komi tag, or the men's love tag, please don't hesitate to let me know. I do take those in. If you like what I did here, please consider liking the video, sharing it around, and please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. It really does help me out, and it's all absolutely for free. Free ways of helping out artists and creators and stuff like that is always a good thing. Last but not least, if you wish to help me out any further, you do have the wonderful opportunity to donate to me at Ko-Fi. You'll find all the links in the description and follow all my socials down in the description below. I don't really think there's much more for me to go on for, so thank you so much for watching, and I definitely hope to catch you all in my next video. Bye-bye.